I'm very honored, extremely honored, to introduce the Chairman of Security and Exchange Commission of Pakistan, Mr. Akif Saeed. He joined SECP in 2004 and has served as the head of various divisions. Later, he was appointed as commissioner from December 2014 to 2017. He possesses extensive regulatory, operational, and business knowledge of various infrastructure entities in the capital markets. During his tenure at SECP, he significantly contributed to instituting various legal and regulatory reforms aimed at enhancing corporate governance, transparency, investor education, investor protection, and risk management. Please welcome, with a huge round of applause, Mr. Akif Saeed on the stage, please. तालियां जोर से बजनी चाहिए, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Applause for a regulator is not a desirable thing. Mr. Zahid Mubarak, CEO, HR Metrics, Dr. Rashid Hussain, a mentor and a guiding light for most of us. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. When it comes to DEI, ESG, as a regulator, we hear two sides of the story. There's a whole set of people who wants things to be mandated through regulation and enforced by the regulator. And of course, there are others which we generally as an entity and myself as a person belong to, is that it can't, these are the things which can't be enforced. They have to be embraced, adopted, accepted, and then seen. I think that's the approach we have. Zahid Saab rightly put it, when comparing between US and EU, I think it has to be looked in the context of Pakistan. You threw some numbers which very much actually clearly shows what needs to be done and why it needs to be done. Of course, it's a privilege to be standing here and speaking to all of you on these Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Awards Conference 2025. I think these are the events which keeps the issue and the limelight, and actually the awards bring in the competition for the companies and individuals to work towards inclusive diversity at the board level, at the organization level. As a regulator, I'm going to speak about 2-3 things. One, I've already touched in terms of the approach we have. Second is, I think as a regulator, it's incumbent upon us to lead by example. So I'm going to share a few things, what we have done internally, and we will gradually be making it much more public. But in reality, in Pakistan, females and women are facing significant barriers when it comes to entry to labor force, securing fair wage access, and as a 50% of the women of the population and only 22% of the workforce, I think lot needs to be done, irrespective of whatever is happening globally. I think the World Gender Gap Report 2024, the World Economic Forum ranked Pakistan 145th out of 146 countries. And this highlights the need for solutions and that go beyond one size fit all and focus on addressing problems by putting women at the forefront of policy design. SECP, as a key regulator for corporate sector, continues to progressively integrate sustainability and gender-inclusive reforms in-house as well as into the broader corporate governance framework. Representation of women in leadership position is key in driving change. The Code of Corporate Governance, it was made mandatory to have at least one female director on their board. I'm pleased to report that 90% of the companies are compliant with that. But if you take an average board size of 7, so it's only 16% directors which are female. So I think this is the appropriate time for me as chairman and on personally, I think now we have to start a debate to go beyond the one female mandatory. So I take this opportunity, and we will be working internally. We have started working internally, and it will be made public for debate and discussion. This is a area which we need to strengthen further and take it forward. It's by having a female director mandatorily is not an end in itself, as globally the minimum requirement of at least one female director is being gradually increased. The countries such as Malaysia, Japan, EU, as a region, Singapore and Switzerland have aimed to raise the benchmark for female board representation to 30%. Interestingly, I was sharing before the start of the conference, I thought that if you have two, it will be better than one, but the research which I looked at it has to be a 3 to make a meaningful difference. 2 is not is the ideal number. So at the same time, the gradual rise in the number of female CEOs, which is also contributing to narrowing the gender pay gap. I'm confident that we continue to align our governance practices with best standards. We will witness a significant rise in female leadership across companies in Pakistan. The e-portal of women leadership being unveiled today by HR Metrics, will further facilitate female representation of corporate boards. I'll take this opportunity and suggest that maybe this needs to be linked with PICG portal, so the companies which are looking for directorship should be able to access the both databases in one go rather than as a two-step process. Here I would like to emphasize the role of the leadership in the companies to drive meaningful change. It is in this perspective that in June 24, amendments were made into the Code of Corporate Governance, whereby the oversight of integrating sustainability targets include gender-inclusive reform was entrusted to the board directors. Further, a dedicated sustainability committee is also encouraged with at least one female director. I would like to mention that SECP has now required companies to include anti-harassment policies and practices into gender mainstreaming policies. I believe that it is imperative for companies to find business case with respect to gender mainstreaming by moving beyond compliance tick boxing and creating flexible policies facilitating female participation. Now coming to SECP, currently SECP has, the officer cadre consists of 28% participation of the female, and we have set a target for ourselves to take it to 40% by 2030. So we have, to achieve this, we have made it a policy that the graduate training program, which has been running for 3 years, it's a 50-50 gender balance. To further achieve our target for 2030, we have been announcing, the Commission has approved, we will be starting a first ever female-only graduate training induction program within 2025. Gender diverse sensitivity and awareness training will be mandatory at all levels, with the completion becoming part of promotion criteria within 3 years. Senior female leaders will also be mentors to emerging female leaders, and initiative to enhance safe and secure working environment will be ensured. All these initiatives are expected to serve as a catalyst in promoting greater female participation and representation in the leadership role and boosting women's participation in economic activities. These are the numbers I'm going to share, which we issued a circular back in 24 under the PM's Women Empowerment Package, where all listed companies have been directed to disclose gender pay gap in their annual report and website. This should have been a pivotal step, but unfortunately, out of the total 311 listed companies having year-end as June, only roughly approximately 80 companies have disclosed this pay gap, gender pay gap and data. So I think this is the first step, disclosures, sharing of data. I think that's a critical part, and this is, in a way, in the regulatory terminology, is the naming and shaming by the peers rather than by the regulator. I think this is critical that the companies which have not disclosed should disclose it, and events like such should celebrate the companies which have made a disclosure and stand out in terms of gender pay gap analysis. SECP has also formed a multi-stakeholder forum for recognizing private companies practicing family-friendly policies, again something which has been done under the PM's directive. So that's, I'm repeating the PM's directive in the sense that it actually shows the focus by the government itself, and that should be taken in that context and spirit to take it forward. SECP's commitment to gender equality is also reflected in this broader push for sustainability initiative. Under the ESG disclosure guidelines issued by SECP in 2024, we have incorporated gender-inclusive indicators under the social and governance indicators. Further, through our advocacy and regulatory measures, we are helping businesses to embed gender equality in their sustainability strategies, creating long-term value for both companies and the society. Talking of reform, data and information is the key area. I'll repeat, data and information is the key area that provides formation of our prospective reforms. One of the most notable development in this area is the launch of ESG Sustain portal by SECP in December 2024. This online portal provides a centralized platform for companies to report on sustainability practices with a strong emphasis on gender disaggregated data. I'm glad to share that a few days back, actually February 13th, SECP has mandated all non-banking microfinance companies to report gender disaggregated data through SECP Sustain portal. This groundbreaking initiative will provide valuable insight into the experience of female borrowers, enabling the regulator to identify trends, address disparities, and promote targeted interventions for the microfinance landscape and facilitate evidence-based policy making. By encouraging companies to disclose gender-specific metrics, SECP is endeavoring in taking significant steps towards better understanding the representation and participation of women in workplace. This is not just about compliance. It is about building a transparent and inclusive business ecosystem where all stakeholders have access to information they need to make informed decisions. Going ahead, I believe that the companies must also endeavor to ensure to adopt policies that are reflective of the diverse needs of their workforce. I would like to congratulate HR Metrics once again for their efforts in recognizing companies that have demonstrated excellence in the DEI sphere. I hope today's session will further facilitate practical solutions for addressing gender disparity challenges. I will conclude with reiterating SECP's commitment in promoting gender-inclusive reforms by supporting gender disaggregated reporting, gender pay gap disclosure, and sustainability practices. Last but not the least, as a regulator, I can't help. We have given a directive. If it is not complied, we will take action. So it's better you start reporting the data so that the market should help. Thank you.